Hello everyone, welcome to the new channel! Let's start with the obvious. I am perfectly fine. Yeah, I kind of live in Florissant, so, got those riots going on there, peaceful protests, whatever you want to call them. I'm staying the fuck out of it. I'm very glad they're well contained. They are, generally speaking, actually peaceful protests, just sometimes some people decide to be stupid and start doing some damn looting. But aside from that, yeah, no, it's very well contained. I'm staying out of it. I'm just gonna see how it all pans out, because everyone's got a bias. I can't figure out what the heck's going on anyway. I'm glad that it happened, because this is the kind of thing that needs to be investigated and all that. And I'm glad it's getting investigated instead of swept under the rug. That's all I got on that thing. Getting back to my show instead of any political stuff, I just finished moving the channel. Technically, I finished moving it at the beginning of the week, but I was like, you know what? I need to put up some kind of, special episode before I, type in the descriptions for all the episodes and get the tags up and get them published. I need to do some kind of welcome to the new channel episode, and I was like, oh, I'll do a Gaming with Gel, or not Gaming with Gel, a Gel's Game Archives of Advanced Variable Go2, and I was like, oh, hey, here's my Advanced Variable Go1, I should probably compare the two, and I was like, wait a second, why is it advanced anyway? Every variable Geo I'd ever seen was advanced or super or something. I never saw just plain old vanilla variable Geo. So I looked that up, found out it was on PC98, grabbed a PC98 emulator, fucked around, and pretty much it wound up spiraling out of control from a simple, oh hey, here's this game, into a near retrospective mixed with review. And yes, if I can get VG Max running, I will actually review that. Oh, adding this in the middle of an already lengthy, rambling rant. I should probably explain a little bit more about the move. I've moved as much as I can, as I mentioned in the I'm moving things thing. I fixed the audio on the Gaming with Gel Sonic the Fighters, as well as the Way of the Samurai 4, where I had, my voice in one speaker and the game audio in the other. The reason I did that was because that was actually how I recorded it. I hooked the computer repeating my voice up to one speaker and the game up to the other speaker. And I was, uploading the raw files to keep the highest quality. Well, since I had to re-download any of them anyways, there's probably a slight video quality degradation. I was like, screw it, let's flip-flop the audio channels, duplicate the audio streams, switch the channels so you have both audio streams coming out of both ears. And, yeah, audio's fixed, so please enjoy those. I've moved a couple of the metables, but some of them, a lot of them are going to stay on the old channel. The new metables will show up here. Basically, moving these things is kind of a pain in the ass, and I wound up actually finding a stash of my old Gaming with Gels, which was why I actually decided to move. I think all the Gaming with Gels should be moved over now. So, I did that. I uploaded as many from the original files as I could. That's actually why the Gunblade NY episode is out of sync. Why it's uploaded later than all the other ones and not in the proper order, was because I originally uploaded the version I downloaded off of YouTube, but then I found the original file, and there's enough of a quality increase between them that I'm like, let's go with the original file version. On that note, I'm actually trying to find my copy of that game again, because I've gotten such a craving to play it. I probably need to, sit back and look at some of these episodes again. It was interesting reminiscing about them, but that's for a later date. So yeah, I'm leaving some of the old metables on the old channel, just because a lot of those were just updates, just me rambling about stupid crap, much like this episode is. I don't say anything important, only if it was something where it's there's some meat to this metable, did I decide I'm actually gonna try to move that and copy it over. So most of the content is copied over, and technically I'm not deleting it unless YouTube actually, asks me to. like, all the old episodes, I'm just switching them to private, and I'm actually going to switch the Dynasty Warriors one to unlisted, since it seems to be linked to a bunch. But I want people to go to the new episode. But yeah, I'm switching most of them to just private. Just so that way the original upload is still there in case something goes awry. In case some of the disputed audio, some of the disputed copyright claims cause the channel to, like, crap itself. I don't want anything bad to happen. And, in case one of the uploads went awry, I want to have a new one there. That's especially true with Gunblade NY, because when I tried rewatching the original upload of it, like, it did... Actually, I think that's that might just be a problem... Maybe it's a problem with new computers or something, I'm not sure. But when I tried to watch the old episode again, like, it kept skipping. It was really weird. It would skip, like, whenever I had a still image, it would skip over that and show, like, a paused screen of the frame immediately after the still image instead. That was the episode, like, I did the most editing on. It was, like, cutting out all my editing, and I was freaking out, because I was like, I don't have the original files for this. What am I going to do? And then, like, for some reason, even the copy I downloaded from YouTube was fine. It was just the one, actually watching it on my old YouTube channel, something went awry with one of the YouTube back-end updates, and it wound up eating it, I guess. Either that or it was a computer hiccup. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, the new upload doesn't have that issue. Like, last time I watched it, it's like, yeah, no, this is the way it's supposed to be. All the editing is in its proper place. I think that's about all I have to say on the actual move. So all the episodes should be moved. Quality should... Well, oh, yeah, that's right. The quality on the DOA 5 episode, and maybe a few other episodes, should be improved, because I tried so hard to do 1080p 60 FPS on DOA 5 without realizing that, number one, the game was in 720p anyway, and my capture device won't actually capture 1080p 60 FPS, and number two, YouTube wasn't doing 60 FPS at the time. They're only now doing that. I did re-upload from the original 60 FPS file, though, so it should be smoother in the off chance anyone actually wants to rewatch that. If you don't, I can't blame you. Okay, I think that's all for the update. Now, back to the original recording. Also, I've been receiving I just got the last package, well, quote-unquote last package, for the Toshinden retrospective. I now have access to all 15 Toshinden games, but I realized, you know what, I want one more. I kind of want to have the R-Zone one. I'm going to try to find a cheap copy of that. Because if we're getting this thorough, we may as well go all the way. I'm kind of iffy on if I want to get DX Herd or not. Like, there's a part of me that's like, for the sake of completeness, I should have DX Herd, but it's not really a Toshinden game, but Eiji's an unlockable character, but I'm never going to unlock him. It's all up in the air. The big thing is that the game looks like crap anyway. But yeah, I've put in a big order. I'm very excited about doing a Toshinden retrospective, but that is going to take a while. There are a lot of games to go through. I need to do a lot of comparisons because I'm looking at every single version, because I'm telling you, there are differences between the versions that I want to, like, do a comparison on the wake-up times in each one and stuff like that. Because, yeah, we're doing a Toshinden retrospective. We're going to be very, very thorough. But it was funny because one day I actually got friggin' 5 packages in the mail at the same time. That was pretty nuts. And when I got my Toshinden Subaru, it was still new in shrink wrap. I couldn't believe it. I kind of didn't want to open it, because how often do you get a new in shrink wrap Toshinden Subaru? And yes, if you're wondering, I do have Toshinden 2 Plus as well, which I nearly forgot. I didn't even remember that game happened. Bumped into it, grabbed a copy of that. I'm having a really hard time finding the difference between vanilla Toshinden 2 and Toshinden 2 Plus, but other than they put in a save load feature and they made, like, the background on the character select screen orange. That kind of crap. But yeah, See, me and Toshinden, we have a kind of weird relationship. Because I always wanted to play Toshinden back when it came out. I remember drooling over the friggin' thing, because it had just the awesomest character designs. It was like the coolest game. It was the biggest thing. That's the thing I don't think a lot of people remember. Toshinden used to be right up there with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. Seriously. It used to be a huge deal from 1995 to 1997. It was the biggest deal. And then, yeah, Toshinden 3 came out and everyone just forgot the series happened, for better or for worse. Generally speaking, people would say for the better. And it's like, I really want to go back and look at it, because, like I said, 15 fucking games and an anime. There was so much Toshinden in that brief period of time. It was such a huge thing. And, like, yeah, no one involved, like, they all went their separate ways. Tamsoft does own Chanbara now. On that note, they finally sold me on a PS4. You know, because they announced... Oh, geez, let me get the title right. Chanbara Z Kagura 2 Chaos. It's the 6th game in the series. But yes, Chanbara Z Kagura 2 Chaos. Which, I look at it, it's clear, they're recycling assets, and enemies, and all this crap from 360 and PS3 game, and they're just slapping it on PS4. It's PS4 only. It looks like it does not have split screen at all, not even the half-assed split screen of the 360 Kagura. So I'm very, very disappointed in that, and yet I have such a hard time resisting. This might be what sells me on the PS4, because oh geez, that song, and oh geez, I love Kagura. Like, Kagura fixes the Chanbara series so hard. The sad thing is they kind of do need a PS4. The PS3 struggled to keep up with Chanbara Z Kagura. Like, I have Kagura with No on the PS3, and I have the Kagura on 360, and yeah, they did cut out the split screen, which was crap on 360 anyway, but they cut it out of the PS3 release because the system literally couldn't handle it, because it could barely handle a single player, because, yeah, there was a lot of slowdown issues with the PS3 release. Rumors of its enhancements are greatly exaggerated. No, not greatly. It does have some enhancements. You know, it adds No once you unlock her, which I still haven't. But yeah, Toshinden. Frickin' Battle Arena Toshinden. Like I said, as a kid, I so wanted Toshinden, but I did not have a PlayStation. So when they released the Game Boy Toshinden, I friggin' pounced on that. I played the crap out of it. In fact, my sister etched the code to unlock all the hidden playable characters into her Game Boy, because she liked playing as Uranus. She absolutely loved the character of Uranus. And as such, that was one of the 2 games we brought with us on every family vacation. The other was Final Fantasy Legend 2. Final Fantasy Legend 2 and Battle Arena Toshinden came on every friggin' trip after they came out. If we were going anywhere and we brought our Game Boys, we brought those games. If Toshinden wasn't in my Game Boy, it was in my sister's. If it wasn't in my sister's Game Boy, it was in mine, and Final Fantasy Legend 2 was in the other one. Those were our most played Game Boy games. And I always thought, oh wow, I got the shitty one, I got the cheap one, I can't wait to get the real deal. And then they released Toshinden on PC, and I bought that, and I was like, oh yeah, I have Toshinden on PC, but I bet this isn't as good as the PlayStation one. Oh wow, I want to play the PlayStation one. And then I ran into, like, Toshinden 2 arcade machines. And I was like, oh, wow, it's friggin' Toshinden 2 in the arcade. Like, I ran into it 3 times, and never in an actual arcade. I know one time it was in a fast food restaurant. And the other 2 times, it was in the game rooms of hotels. And the Toshinden 2 arcade machine always looked slapped together. Like, it never looked like a real arcade machine. I had such a hard time believing it was real. I was even more surprised that, according to Wikipedia, it actually came out in the arcades first and then hit PlayStation. But either way, I played Toshinden 2 in the arcades. I never quite got around it, but I played it. Something just felt off with it, though. Couldn't put my finger on it. And then I actually I have an R-Zone somewhere, and I practically bought the R-Zone to play the R-Zone version of Toshinden. Sadly. Because I so wanted that Toshinden. Then, we actually got a PS1, and basically, we got a PS1 to play Monster Rancher. The original first Monster Rancher. Me and my sister split it 50-50, like, as a Christmas present. We got Monster Rancher, I got Zero Divide and Cyber Sled, and she got Tecmo's Deception. And those were our starting games with the PlayStation. And I like, no one talked about Toshinden anymore. Like, it completely vanished, and I almost forgot about it, because it had been so long, and I was like, oh yeah, Toshinden! Toshinden was so awesome! Oh, I wanted to play Toshinden! Toshinden 3 is out, I wonder how that is. Bought Toshinden 3 at a Blockbuster. And I tried to return it the same day. That was like one of the biggest gaming disappointments ever to me. I get Battle Arena Toshinden, I can actually play Toshinden on a real console, and wow, Toshinden 3 was garbage. And now going back and playing all of them, like back to back to back, honestly, Toshinden 3 isn't that much worse than the other games. In some ways, it's better. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh no, Toshinden 2 was the good one. No, they're all a mess. Every single Toshinden is a mess. But I want to like them. I like the character designs and the music in the first game, just the general world. I love Toshinden, but the games aren't good, and I want a good Toshinden game. The best one, ironically, is like the Game Boy one at Puzzle Arena Toshinden. And the biggest issue is the wake-up times. And yeah, I wanna go in there, I want to investigate all the games, and do a full-blown retrospective, like all 15 games and the anime, back to back to back, do the whole thing chronological order, and really get into why each game was popular at the time. The fervor surrounding Toshinden, because, I mean, seriously, it was huge back then. The fact that there was a Tiger Electronics version of Toshinden should tell you that. It was, that means it's kind of a big deal when you get a shitty Tiger Electronics version of it. It meant something. And then, all these years later, you go back, you play them, none of them hold up. None of them hold up at all. They're all crap. They're all garbage. It's one of those things where it's like, what went wrong with each of these? What would need to change to make each of these functional? Generally speaking, it's the wake-up times, the controls. Mostly the wake-up times. Some of them have okay controls, but man, I can't stress it enough, the wake-up times are nuts in these games. You stay on the ground for such a length of time. It's stupid. Wrecks the game. So I look forward to really looking at all of them like that, but that's gonna be a while, that's gonna be like a month or two or more. So there's gonna be a few somethings before that, maybe an episode, maybe not. Speaking of episodes and crazy things, I should probably mention Akiba's Trip. I did pick it up. I initially wasn't going to, but then I was like, I'm just too dang curious, and I thought I was basically going to get Doki Doki Majo Shinpan. Because everyone was like, oh, it's an adventure game about stripping zombies. And I'm like, okay, adventure game. So I was expecting Doki Doki Majo Shinpan. I was expecting something like really offensive. And I actually bring it home, and what I get is basically a cut-rate Yakuza, and it is shockingly tame. Like, seriously, it's really, really inoffensive. Like, I thought it was going to be so much worse, and no, actually, this is fine. And I want to make one thing clear. A lot of people, like, they made one change to the US release compared to the Japanese release, and it's gotten blown a little out of proportion. That's the fact that you can strip the guys. Well, come to find out, even in the Japanese one, you do strip the guys. The enemies were always a 50-50 split between men and women. Actually, I stripped more men than I have women, to be completely honest. And that is the same in the Japanese one. They just show a lot of women in, like, the promotional trailers. The change is that the boss characters have, like, a special pin-up image after you beat them, of them all stripped and blushing and stuff. For the US one, they added in pin-up images of the guys with their package front and center. It's hilarious. To me, anyway. I'm actually really hoping that somewhere out there, that someone gets off to that. But either way, I'm amused. The game is, generally speaking, unchanged. I read a post from the translator, because apparently someone was getting pissed off at the fact that he used the word trap at one point in the game, but he made a very good case for it. Like, I completely understand why he did. It's used basically in an in-game Twitter conversation from a guy who's being an asshole. Like, it's supposed to be offensive, and honestly, there are far more offensive words he could have used if he wanted to. I was very happy reading what the translator wrote. Like, I don't know his name, but the guy who translated this game won my utmost respect and got me to overlook the bro puns in the game. Your little sister in the game calls you Nini-chan, and they translated that as a variety of different bro puns. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll overlook that. I like the cut of this translator's jib, because what he was saying in his blog post is that he tries to stay true to the original. He's really against censorship. He's run into a couple things that made him really uncomfortable and really offended him, but he thought about it and he was like, no, I have to do good by the material. I can't change things based on my own agendas or issues. Thank you, dude. I don't remember your name, but you know who you are, and round of a fucking applause. That's the way it should be. Doing a good job as a translator. As you kinda have to, because you know how, you translate for Nippon Ichi, and you know what your fan base is. The people who buy Nippon Ichi games, who buy Atlas games, that's right, no, you don't translate for Nippon Ichi, you translate for Xseed. I'm sorry, you're kind of they're all kind of linked. You know, Atlas helps Nippon Ichi America get their foot in the door, and I know Xseed is linked in there somewhere. They were more separate than those two, but, like, they're all kind of the Japanese import game translator community cluster. Either way, Xseed, you know that when you're bringing obscure, weird Japanese games to America, that the only people who are going to buy them are people who are going to be incredibly, incredibly anal about the translation. I mean, oh my shit if I told you the things Fats said. Like, he was like, we need to start a website. He wanted to start a website to double-check all the translations of, like, every game ever, so that way it could be a warning if a game got, like, badly translated. And he actively avoided Sakura Wars 5. He actively avoided the US release of that because there was something about the translation he didn't like. Like, I thought the changes for the dubbed version were weird, but just the fact that that game was released as a 2-disc set, with one disc being English, one disc being Japanese, and the Japanese one keeping all the names and not changing any of that, that was literally a dream come true. That's what we wanted for Final Fantasy X. Oh, jeez. Yo, speaking of which, what the fuck's up with that? Square Enix is going around charging people for Japanese voice options, but they don't charge us for a Japanese voice option in Final Fantasy X? That's a one game I'd actually pay to get a Japanese voice option in. Step your game up. Come on, Square Enix. The one time I will give you money for a Japanese voice option, and you don't do it. But, oh, you'll do it for all the other ones. You fuckwits. Where the shit was I? Oh, right, rambling, like I always do in a Metable. Alright, so, translations, what's that game called? Akiba's Trip. Actually, this is a funny thing. I didn't realize this initially. Akiba's Trip is actually Way of the Samurai. It's running on the Way of the Samurai engine. If you go back and look at the first Akiba's Trip, it uses the Way of the Samurai damage icons, and that explains the similarities and why it's basically a cut-rate Yakuza. I will say I like Way of the Samurai better. Like, I think the controls are kind of sluggish in Akiba's Trip. And yes, I did say the first one, the one we got, is actually Akiba's Trip 2, which is technically completely separate from Akiba's Trip 1. There's no story relation between them. I think it's kind of like skipping a Way of the Samurai game, where they all have the same basic concept, but the stories aren't technically interlinked, but there might be a reference or two to a previous game. That kind of thing. I think that's what's going on here. Either way, I'm amused by Akiba's Trip, and oh my crap, I haven't even cracked into my Tales of Xillia 2. Looking at it right now, I've been meaning to. I didn't actually get around to beating Xillia, and I know there's going to be some spoilers, but I've already heard a lot about what happens at the end of Xillia, so I don't think I'll be too spoiled. And I'm sorry, one of the new characters, I really want to play as her. You know, Xillia was weird for me, though. And, speaking of that, okay, getting ahead of myself again. Xillia was weird for me, because I was so excited for it, I was so hyped. I loved Mila's design, because I'm a huge fan of Stan Aileron. I think, I love the Destiny designs, and, Mila is to Stan as Lightning is to Cloud. Honestly, Mila is the Tails answer to Lightning. And Xillia 2 does have some amusing parallels to Final Fantasy 13 too. Except, oh right, they did it in a non-shitty way because it's Tales of, and they have a vague idea what they're doing. But yeah, it was awkward because I was so excited about it. I thought it looked so good. I couldn't wait to meet these characters. And then I play it, I had no interest in Graces. That was the big thing. I had no interest in Graces. I picked it up just because it's Tales of. I played it, and I was like, and I was really iffy on the combat system, because I'm all about the air combos, and I was like, removing jumping? Really? And then I try the combat system, and it's awesome. I meet the characters, and they're great. And then Xillia comes out, and I'm just like, I think I want to go back to Graces. To me, everything about Graces was better. Except the sense of scale. I think Tales of should just bring back world maps. It's hard to do one-to-one worlds and actually make them look decent and work decently. And my biggest issue with Graces, it was the first one without a world map. And the sense of scale was just completely borked. The scale was off. It was like it was a half-world map, which was just weird. But minor thing, I think is funny, because somehow, in spite of the fact that Graces was originally a Wii game, everything is way lower poly count. Push comes to shove, I really think the character models look better in Graces than they do in Xillia. I think Graces is the better looking, better playing game with the more interesting cast of characters, even if I like the Xillia designs more. I don't really like the Xillia characters quite as much as I like the Graces characters. I thought for sure I'd like the Xillia combat system more, but no, if you're gonna do Tales of in 3D, yeah, you know what? Cut the jumping. Put in sidestepping. Jumping works like crap in a 3D Tales of. I'm a big 2D Tales of nerd. I love 2D Tales of. I think the best Tales of is the PS2 Tales of Destiny remake. It's everything I ever wanted in a Tales of game, and I'm super grumpy that it didn't get a US release. I'm extra grumpy because the US doesn't really have any good 2D Tales of games. Oh geez, you should have seen how angry I was that we're getting the friggin' Vita version of Tales of Hearts. Oh yeah, the shitty looking 3D version instead of the awesome 2D DS version. But put putting that aside, I'm sure Tales of Hearts will be fine, even though it looks like balls. I'd really rather play the DS one in 2D. I'm just gonna play the little bonus game that comes with it that's 2D. I'm sorry, it's kind of a sticking point to me, and I figured out why. Like, I used to go on these big, long tirades about how Tales of Symphonia was a piece of shit. Fuck, I hate Tales of Symphonia. And how, like, 2D Tales of is the best, and nobody understands, and y'all just don't get it. And then I read a post, and I was very amused. And this post said that invariably your favorite Tales of will be the first Tales of you play. Well, that explains a fucking lot. I mean, I knew Symphonia was beloved, because for a lot of people, that was what got them into the series. It was the first Tales of a lot of people played. I understood it, because it was on GameCube. There are so many people who had a GameCube and love RPGs. And it was like one of the only non-card-based RPGs on GameCube. Even counting the card-based RPGs on GameCube. Like, there weren't a lot of RPGs on the GameCube. And like, in the realm of action RPGs like that, where it cuts away to a separate battle system, what was its competition? Star Ocean 3. Star Ocean 3 was crap. And so, yeah, I totally see why people were like, oh wow, Tales of Symphonia is so awesome. I just never understood why they'd say that Symphonia was better than Abyss. Like, Abyss is Symphonia minus all the flaws. It's the same game, but with better characters, and better combat, and personal opinions. But, like, that statement, your favorite Tales is your first one, even though I was super interested in Destiny and rented it once, the first one I really sat down with was Tales of Eternia. Which, yeah, I loved it, but it was heavily flawed, because I wanted to play it 4-player with my friends, and that was back when mages sucked. So we all wanted to play fighters, and there were only 2 fighters. And halfway through the game, you get 2 other characters who aren't quite fighters, but aren't quite mages. And that's like, that's like 20, 30 hours into the game. So some people have to be stuck playing as shitty mages. And, like, they weren't really accommodating the multiplayer. Basically, I really liked what I saw, though, because it was like a cooperative 2D fighter that gave you bonus points for doing air combos and team-up attacks, bonus experience. And, like, so many of my friends are fighting game fans, and also like Japanese RPGs, so it was just the perfect match. And then, like, then Symphonia happened. Instead, I'm sitting there going, I want this with the flaws fixed. I want this, except accommodating multiplayer, with more characters, more fighters, even crazier air combos. And instead, we get the game where jumping is completely useless, the camera's even worse in multiplayer, and, like, also, I always roll manual. I can't stand semi-auto, and in Symphonia, even manual is technically semi-auto, because all your movement is based on the location of the enemies. You lock onto an enemy, and then you move around, and I'm all about the crowd control. I like Dynasty Warriors. It's my thing. When I play a 2D Tales of, it's all about knocking the enemies all into a corner, bunching them up, and comboing them all at once. You can't do that in a 3D Tales of. So yeah, super grumpy about that. Of course, in Japan, they did have some things that sort of bore resemblance to that. But no, they couldn't come to America because Sony Computer Entertainment America is a bunch of cocksuckers. Fuck, I hate those dipshits. So I'm kind of in the shit when it comes to Tales of games. I haven't actually beaten any of them. But I've played, like, every single one that's come to America. And, I've been considering maybe doing an episode like I did for the Dynasty Warriors episode on Tales of, and just talking about the series as a whole and why I like it, as well as kind of its shortcomings. Like, basically the best way to put it, what I think is the best description of Tales of, is that if Final Fantasy is like the RPG equivalent of a big budget Hollywood blockbuster movie, Tales of is the RPG equivalent of a 2-season-long anime series. I mean that not as an insult or a compliment. Remember, blockbuster movies can be garbage, and anime series that go on for only 2 seasons can be fucking awesome. That has nothing to do with quality, it has everything to do with style. Tales of has always been super anime-ish in its presentation, what with all of them having opening themes, all the ones after Destiny having an anime opening. Don't they all have a Hot Springs episode too? I think every Tales of has a section that could be called a Hot Springs episode. And the characters are really, really cliche, and it can be pretty stock, but at the same time, it's more about the character interactions than it is about the actual plot. I'll go into it if I ever do the episode. On that note, I'm very pleased that the Dynasty Warriors episode, has been getting such positive feedback. That makes me super happy, because, it's only gotten, 682 views, which is better than most of my episodes. People seem to really like it. I love the comments on it. I feel bad about moving the channel now. But I'm very glad that people are liking it. I figured that would actually be a good premise for an episode, because I love Dynasty Warriors. I understand why people don't like it, and I don't think enough people understand why I do like it. I even Googled it. Why do you like Dynasty Warriors? I found a thread on it, but it quickly just devolved into people talking about Dynasty Warriors being garbage and worse than Madden and it needs to go away. And I'm like, wow, so, no one's gonna provide a decent answer. And I'm sure you could poke around the Koei Warriors boards and stuff and ask them there and you'd get some kind of an answer. But I think I did a decent job. I was actually amused by one of the responses. A friend of mine, Baines, from way back in the LiveJournal days, popped up, and he was complaining that Dynasty Warriors had become too scripted. Everything's a scripted event. There's no real battles going on behind the scenes. And I gotta agree with him on that one. And it's kind of a funny thing. You think Dynasty Warriors keeps everything the same, but he's displeased with some of the changes. And I'm I kind of like them, but I get the complaint, and I say that if you really want battles behind the scenes, that's where Dynasty Warriors Gundam has, really excelled. That is its strong point. That's what makes it good. They've evolved the battles behind the scenes. You got these clusters of enemies conquering the different sections and actually having a point to conquering the sections. Super great. Yeah, that's a thing. So I might try to do a Tales of episode, kind of like the Dynasty Warriors one. It's not as much of a question, why do you like Tales of? But I think it's a better question of just, what is Tales of? What's its odd history? What's the deal with the games? And why is it that none of us can ever get satisfaction? Because the games, like they said, your first Tales of will be your favorite, because each game, even though they're, all based on similar concepts, they do evolve and experiment and try different things. As such, I think every Tales of game, you play it and you go, oh wow, I love these additions, but these changes completely make it a different game from the one that I really liked, and I want the one that I really liked, but better. Which, again, a little easier in Japan, where, they actually get Tales of Destiny PS2 remake. Oh, jeez, I want that in English. I have the Japanese one. So yeah, there is that. And speaking of my show, I might need to do a Metable just reminiscing about all of it. Because this is the point where I realize I've been doing the show for 7 years. Yeah, that makes me feel old and worthless, because most of my episodes, they get 150 views tops, and you'll find videos of dogs shitting that have higher view counts. You'd think I'd give up, but I just don't have enough fucks to give up. Nope. I'm going to keep doing this, especially because, like, I'm very happy that I do have, like, a handful of fans. I'm so grateful that you're all here, and I'm more than happy to try to engage with you all when I can, because I like having a conversation. And even being told I'm wrong, like in the worst idea ever, the Nintendo Edge episode. I completely forgot about Fire Emblem. I fully admit, I completely forgot about Fire Emblem, and that is first-party Nintendo. It is the least Nintendo-feeling thing ever. I keep thinking it's a Squaresoft game. Like, not even Square Enix, I think it's Squaresoft. My mind does not register it as Nintendo. What I'm saying is that if you haven't played Fire Emblem, what do they call it, Awakening? The new one. That new Fire Emblem is the hotness. Give it a chance if you haven't, because it's so good. It is so good. Yeah. So, thank you all for being here. Also, I have just started college. Like, going back to college, gonna get a proper education and a degree so that way I can get a real job, because I am not dealing with any more customers. Like, seriously, all the shit that went down at Walgreens, I nearly murdered some people. It got bad. I can't deal with customers. I can't deal with idiot coworkers. I can deal with coworkers. Like, if we have a goal and we can work, like, if we're working towards a goal and not just serving customers as they come, I think it'll work a lot better, because I loved fixing the photo machine. And I'm trying to find a job like that. I don't know if I'm going into biology or film editing, still feeling that out, but, maybe both. Kind of working towards both. But yeah. Also, film appreciation class, not an easy class. I'm surprised by how intense it is, but I kind of like it. Because, like, half the reason I'm there doing the film appreciation class is to better understand, like, if in the future there was a game appreciation class, what that would be like. And, I think we need to understand the similarities in order to better understand the differences. If you know what I mean. All I know is that when I was in film class, I was a little amused, because, like, they were talking about the rise of, like, that was one of the really big things I wanted to know. The rise of film as an art form. When did it change from crap into, oh, it's totally art and can be appreciated? The evolution of reviewing, because that's the stage video games are at right now. And, yeah, like, I wanted to know about that, and it was what amused me was, according to the teacher, the earliest reviews back in the black and white silent film days, super silent films, text on the screen, most of the reviews were basically about, the story. It was just telling you this is what the story is. It took a narrative approach, and it would only be later that they would begin to appreciate the actual cinematography of it all, and that seems relatively obvious when you think about it. But I was just amused, because I thought about this in terms of video game reviewing, and I think we've gone backwards. Because in the old days, we didn't have a lot of story in our video games, so reviewers actually had to review the fucking game. And far too frequently, I see reviews these days that are focused entirely on the story. We'll talk about games as art later. Before I sign off, I do want to say I am highly amused by the number of people who are taking it back, who are like, you know what, no, maybe games aren't art. I don't want this. I don't want this. This is not what games should be. I'm amused by that, and I think I might do an episode on that later, because I think games are, practically giving it away here, I think games are most definitely art. There is certainly artistry that goes into their creation, and there's so many layers. If nothing else, they contain art. What is a sprite but a drawing? what is a 3D model but a virtual sculpture? What is a cutscene but a small movie? They do contain art to some degree. However, I think we're going about it all the wrong way. We focus too much on the narrative, on the storyline, and not enough on the artistry of the game. Like, I'm seeing too many games that are basically just, I made a movie, then I cut out all the action scenes and replaced it with corridors with waist-high walls. I see that way too frequently, and it pisses me off, because I'm like, that is not games as art. That is a stupid movie that you chopped up and shoved game bits in. That's dumb. Like, I think there's artistry to the game itself. Again, giving it away, but like maybe if I think the big one for me would definitely be the stage design in Sonic Generations. We need to appreciate stuff like that more, because the way it transitions between two different gameplay styles and camera positionings so seamlessly and so smoothly, and how natural it feels. I mean, do you even, like, you gotta think about how the designers had to approach that to make that feel as good as it does. You know, I don't know the guy's name. I'm not even gonna take a guess at it, but the guy who made Spelunky, I remember he actually kind of wrote an article about this, because, like, he was talking about how people weren't appreciating Dragon's Crown for what it was doing. Like, that was back when we had the whole Dragon's Crown debacle and everyone was raising a shit fit about the Sorceress. He was like, yo, what? I can't believe people don't respect Dragon's Crown as art. Not because of the visuals, but heck, because of the gameplay. Like, he was just like, no one's respecting the gameplay. Yo, there's as much art that goes into Sonic the Hedgehog as does, think of an art house game. Shit. These games, I'm sorry, I've purged them all from my mind. I give up. I've purged them all from my mind. I don't want to think about stupid art house game bull crap. We'll continue that discussion later. I've spent like over a half hour just rambling about random crap. But apparently some people like that. Whatever. Anyway, this is Gel. I hope you've enjoyed this Metabole. If not, I'm sorry. Hey, at least there's a Variable Geo episode, though. That's worth something, right? See ya.